Russians, let's start putting together the switch matrix. So, what is the switch matrix? Basically, this game works on switches. So as the ball rolls over, hits a target, whatever the case may be.
Two contacts close.
Okay? Graphically, this is what the switch matrix looks like. All right? The reason it's a matrix is because everything interconnects in a certain pattern in order to make, when the connection happens, to send the input back to the computer. Without getting into too much detail, the reason they did this is because theoretically you only need
a few wires.
Otherwise, if the game has 64 inputs, you would need 64 wires, individual wires going into the computer to read everything, which would be a quagmire. It would just be an absolute disaster with how much wiring and how many issues you could potentially have. So what they did is they designed a way of looping the wires from switch to switch to send the signals back to the computer. This is how the diodes work. All right, let's pick, okay, let's take this one, you can see it. The white side is the band. All right, look at the switch matrix. And I'll show you with the wires how they're gonna work. So here's the wire coming in. So this one, for example, is 51, so it's a white with a red. So the white with the red comes in, it attaches this part of the switch, then it daisy chains to the next switch, so on and so forth. And when it's coming in the switch, if we look at it, here's the diode. So remember, the wire comes in, the power can go this way, but it can't go back. So this is how it actually lives in the game. Wire, power comes in this way, it flips over that way, but it can't come back. Okay, that's pictorially. And then, so that's the column, and these are the rows. The row is what I like to call the orphan wire, the single wire on its own. Okay, so now, here's what you're gonna do. First of all, here's the switches for the pops. Here's the switches for all the rollovers. Here's the switches on the side for some point advancements. These are the switches for all the yellow targets on KISS. Then we got switches for the rollovers. Okay, for the outer lanes. And then we have the switches on the drop targets. All right, so what we're gonna do now is we're gonna start wiring this thing up. I'm gonna identify what each switch is. So I'm gonna go through the exercise of grabbing the switch matrix and identifying with a piece of tape on what each one of these is. And then we'll start the exercise of soldering the wires on. Okay, so now's the part of the program where we're going to identify where each switch is. So when we go to wire it up, we'll be able to look at the diagram, find the corresponding switch, and hook up the wires as required. So we're looking at this thing backwards. Little tip, put a piece of tape. This is the right side, this is the left side. Yeah, it's backwards. Okay, but again, that's what we're looking at with the playfield. One of the easiest ways of identifying what each switch is, again, you can turn it over. You can look, like on KISS, you see light align, that's light align. Or we can look in the manual and it gives us where these switches are. So the circles indicate switch assembly. So for example, switch number 5, we're gonna go over to here, switch number 5, light align. Then we go over to the playfield, light align. And so I'm going to go through the exercise of basically labeling each of the switches. And as I label them and I find them, I just cross them off on a photocopy of the switch matrix. This is going to come in extremely handy because as we start wiring things and soldering them, we're going to check off that we did either the column or the row. And I'll show you how we do that, okay? Okay, we've identified where all the switches are. Okay, CD, you can see that. So I'm not trying to go too fast to confuse you. Now remember, the whole premise behind this is getting a wire from here, following the diagram, and maybe it's going to go to here, maybe it's going to go to here, maybe it's going to go to here, then to here, and then out. Okay, so what we've done is we've graphed it all out based on the switch matrix. So let me go for the first top row here. So you'll see some green boxes, you'll see some pink highlights, and you see a legend. All right, the pink highlights were just to confirm that I made sure that each switch was labeled, and it makes it a little easier to see as well. You're going to see check mark row, check mark equals column, start, and the row equals alone. All right, what does that mean? This is my own nomenclature. You guys can make up your own. The whole premise behind my grid system is where I'm going to start a wire, and then we'll figure out where it ends when it makes sense. So for example, for the most part, the wiring starts sort of at the bottom of the playfield and works its way up, okay? So all the green boxes denote that's where my first wire is going to start. And what I'm going to do here is the row. Now the row equals alone. What do I mean by that? Here is your switch. They're all the same. This is the row. It's alone. Okay, so the first wire I'm going to start is the right out hole on the alone tab. So here's the right out hole. This is the tab that's alone. First wire starts there. Then it's going to go, okay, this one gets a little confusing because it's actually going to go into 3 different spots for the 10-point drop and target and 2 rebounds. So we're going to go from the out hole, and we're going to find, oh, there, drop and 2 rebounds, and it's going to go on the alone. Then I'm going to have to somehow figure out how I'm going to go to right here, drop and 2 rebounds, and it's going to go on the alone. Then it's going to have to get up to here, drop and 2 rebounds, and it's going to go on the one that's alone. Then it's going to go back out and end up on the main wiring harness, which is this one. Okay, and so that's going to be the method to the madness. Oh, and by the way, every time I do that solder point, so when I do the first solder with the orange wire, when I solder it, we're going to check mark it. It's going to be either a column or a row. So I'll have a red check mark, and then I'll do all the red check marks. Then I'll do all the columns, and I'll do a check mark. So as long as I have 2 check marks, I know that I've wired it, and it'll help for troubleshooting as well. Okay, enough talk, let's get to it. Let's get to soldering. So here's the setup I got. Got my grid up here, got my wires for the first one here, got my numbered playfield, got my pictures for reference. So let's start rocking and rolling. Okay, wire 1, green wire. It's saying right out lane. Then it's going to go to 10-point drop target. There's 3 spots it's going to go to. And then it's going to drop target D. Okay, so here's the right out lane. And remember, right now, we're doing the rows. And the rows are where we're attaching them. It's just the single point of the switch. Okay, so we're going to get our trusty wire snipper. Okay, and I'm following on the picture here. Where'd it go? Here it goes. Following the pictures I took from a previous build. I'm going to leave some slack in the wire. We're not going to leave, like, you know, a heck of a lot of slack, but we're going to leave enough so that nothing touches anything else. And then when you start tightening this up with twist ties and whatnot, it does stretch everything. So you gotta leave yourself just enough room. And we're going to use a couple of tools here just to make our lives a little easier. This does take time, ladies and gentlemen. It's not a quick and dirty. You want to make sure you get the right wire in the right spot and the right amount of solder on the wire as well. Okay, perfect. Give it a little tug, make sure she's good. Okay. Now, we're going to follow the path. Kind of jumps over here. Ends up going through here. One thought, I forgot something, guys. I forgot to put on a piece of clear tubing, just to make it look a little legit here. Here's our clear tubing, thinnest tube. And you're going to be blowing through all kinds of wires here because, again, I'm using original playfield wire, obviously off another game. And you'll also be doing a lot of splicing. That's just the way it's going to go down. Okay. So that's good. We'll leave a little bit of a loop. I've also put the major assemblies in, so you'll see, like, you know, that the flipper mechanisms, they've been put in. And the reason we've done that is so it's just so that we can loop things around and make sure we're not interfering with anything. Okay, this is just a pipe. It's pipe cleaner. You can buy it at the craft stores. Okay, so this is going to set the path for virtually all the wiring coming through here. Okay, now we're going to follow. I'm going to get more pipe cleaners on here. Okay. Oh, I almost forgot something we need to check off on our map. We need to check off that we've done the first one. So column and row. So row is red. I got to find a red marker. I'll have to come back. I don't have a red marker here. No worries. It's the first one, so I'm sure we won't forget. Again, try to keep this tight. I've got more pipe cleaners, but I got to go grab one. All right, so now we're going to 10 point and drop, which is right there. Now what we need to do is daisy chain it, right? So we're going to go from here to here. And then our next journey is going to be, so if it goes from this 10 point, then it jumps over to this side over here. We have drop target and 2 rebounds, so it's going to go from here
it's going to scoot over to here. Then it's going to scoot up to here to another drop target and rebounce. And then it's going to go back to the S lower drop, which is, where's that? Oh, here's S upper. Ah, sorry. We're going here first. S lower target. S lower target. Oh, I almost made a huge mistake. But anyway, we're going to here. Okay, so that's not too bad. So then from here, then we're going to the rebound. Then we're going to end up over here, and our final destination will be up here. Okay? And I found my red marker. All right. I'm going to pretend it. And I've got some remnants that I need to take off here. Oh. Beautiful. Okay. Now we carry on our merry way. Got my red, so let me just mark. Right outlay. Check mark there. One there. And S lower. Okay. We're going to find, now we need to find a wire that's going to take us from, again, here, back. I'm going to have to go to drop target. We're going to have to go to here and then to here. Okay, and I've got my green. I don't like wasting wire. But when we look in the grand scheme of things, you know, it's not like I'm going to be doing this again anytime soon. So did this get us? Yeah, perfect. Okay. And again, we're trying to use the proper color wire just for diagnosing, right? When we get to the lights, it's going to be a completely different game altogether. That's going to be whatever we got is the way we're going to go. What to do is tie them together. Okay. Don't forget our little cap, and then pre-tin them. This tributary here gets a lot of action, so we don't want to go too crazy on how much slack we're going to leave, but we don't want to, you know, leave ourselves short at the end of the day either, right? Okay, and we're going to go here. Drop target 2 rebounds. Perfect. Okay, and then we end right here. So I'm going to leave this loose only because this is just attached in a way that let me figure out where the wiring needs to go. So I will put the assembly on, and when it comes time to wire it, this will get all wired up. Might do it sooner, but that's the plan for now. Okay, so again, let me follow this. So I've got that, and then we end it here. So here's what we've done. So it's drop target D. Okay. Yeah, so actually, no, I'm lying to you guys. It's going from D. See? So there's the right outline. First drop, 10. The second, 10, which is right here. The third is right here. And then we did the lower S, which is right here. And then drop target D. It's going to end here. All right, so I'm going to go from here to here. You can see that, right? Yeah. Here to here, which is there to there. And it's going to end there. So, all right, let's do it. Let's do it. I don't want to leave too many things up to chance. So we're going to go here. Okay, because there's two here.
Then the end is going to go here. Okay, and purposely not.
So drop target D. Drop target D. So got that. And I'm going to denote the end with this circle. And so here is the end. Okay, so why did I do that? So this is where it ends on the row. And the reason we need to know where it ends is because when we hook up the main harness that feeds from here to the game, I need to know where we got to get to. So you will see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We should have 8 circles when we've completely done the switch matrix, and then we have to tie in this one, this harness that's going to go to the main game. Okay, so what I mean by that is then I'm going to grab, I know I'm going to regret doing that, I'm going to grab the appropriate wires, so the white with green, wherever that means, and we're going to tie it to here, and then feed it out, and then into the game. Okay, so I hope that gives you some idea of how we're going to wire this thing up. So now I only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 7 more to do. Okay, now remember, these are for the rows, and then we got to do the columns.
Russians, we are at the halfway mark. I've done all the rows. Now we're going to do the columns. Just going to give you a fresh recap. As I soldered the wire, if it was a row, it got a red check mark. That way I know it was done. Now when I do the columns, it's going to get a black check mark. Okay, row red, black column, that way I know I've done it. So let's use an easy one. We're going to use, the only reason it's easy is because the color is very differentiated from the rest. So 70, that's orange, no tracer. So most of the green, so the green boxes are where we start, right? So in this case, green out hole, bang, started here. Okay, so the out hole wire, then we're gonna go and we wanna attack the play field as we move up to do the soldering, okay? I don't wanna have to solder up here and then come over here and then jump over here and so on and so forth. So we followed just basically a pattern. So it went from out hole, and then the other option was the K rollover and the thumper bumper. So what I did is I kind of followed it up the river. I went around, I went to the thumper bumper, okay? Then went to the K rollover, which is right here. And then from here, we're gonna go to the main wiring harness, which gets to the MPU. And that's basically what we did for each one, okay? Where the wire ends, the termination point, I put a circle. Okay, so this ended at the K rollover, this one ended at the left spinner, right spinner, and so on and so forth. Okay, just so I have a reference where it kind of stops. So I've got the end here as a circle. Okay, now we're going to tackle the column. So the column's a lot more soldering and a lot more areas of opportunity to make a mistake, to be honest with you. So again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to identify where I'm going to start from and where I'm going to end. I can already tell you, I will start the column at the out hole because it's the farthest one, and then I'll snake it up. So it's going to go from the out hole, and then it'll go to tilt, then it'll go back, and then we have the option of light align, A top, B top, C top, D top. So it's one wire that goes right across. So what I'll probably do is bring it right around, hook up to, it'll probably be this line here. Okay, yeah, because there's the diode. And then I'll bring it back to, we said light align, and that's where it's going to end. Okay, and rinse and repeat. One thing you will notice is I do not have for the this exercise yet, I haven't put any of these tie strips. To be honest with you, that is a pretty part of the exercise that gets my blood boiling, because as you start tightening up the wires, if you don't kind of start from the middle and move your way towards the end, what ends up happening is you start eating up all your slack, okay, because there's lots of slack here, because you don't want it too tight where, you know, if the wiring harness moves, it's gonna break the solder joint. So you want enough slack so it's got that movement. So as we tighten those, bundle the wires together, we just got to be cognizant of that. So I'll get the columns done. Okay, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wires, but there's a lot of soldering to do. So once the columns are done, then I'll test it. Okay, I'll actually put it on the jig. We'll boot up a board, and we'll test each contact to make sure that it's wired up properly. And I'll show you that whole process. Okay, have an old switch lying around or something to remind you that the wire is going to go on the non-banded side. Okay, there's the band right here on this side. Wire goes to non-banded. And it's the same process. It's basically a big daisy chain. There's your wire. Now what I do is I pre-tin them just to make it a little easier. There we go. I think you can see that. Now, can you see? Yeah, you can see. I'll move it over if we can. There we go.
Maybe just a little extra wire here. Here's where the pre-tin comes in handy.
Okay. Just going to give it a tug. All good. All right. Now we are going to, so there is the 5,000 rollover, A, B, C, D, drop targets. All right, we're actually going to the tilts.
That looks good.
And then from the tilts, well, first, let's mark out hole is done. Tilts, we're working on it. We're just going to plan out where we're going to be going up to next. So we're going to go from tilt all the way up to the drops. So we need a long wire to do that. And then from the drops, we're going to go to the light align. And then from the light align, we're going to go back out. So we need a relatively long wire here, which I just happen to have here. Is it long enough? Nope. Do I have something longer? As a matter of fact, I do. Okay. I'm going to get it to point, and then I will go through. I'll sort of tighten these wires up a little bit. Now, if the wire is not long enough, just splice a new wire into it, right? Okay, let me just move you guys.
Let me just.
Okay, perfect. Then we need to go from here, like we said before. So this wire actually ties all of the switches together. So you're basically getting, you know, a 4-for-1. So from here, we're going to go to drop target D, A, B, C. Okay, these are all the drops. We're going to go to light align. So we need a wire long enough, which that one would suffice. And so will this one, because then from light align, we need to go back out to the main playfield harness. So.
Okay, so let's get this one all set and done. A little too long, so let's cut it back a bit. We want to be here. Okay. This one's dirty. Not just that part. That'll be 10.
So that's going to go here. Let me get rid of this wire from before. So we're using pre-used parts. Comes in handy because there's a lot of, you know, witness marks on parts. and there's a lot of you know, wires to kind of help you guide where you need to be. Okay, so actually, you know what I'm going to do? Let me just tuck this one in here for now. Just get it out of our way. There we go. Okay. So we're going to go to, can you guys see? Yeah, you can see. Okay, we're going to go here. And we're going to get the diode to play ball. So I'm going to try to use the diode wire to hold it on. There we go. I think we got it perfect now. Tug on the diode. Yeah, that's good. I ain't going anywhere. All right, let me just kind of put this thing in place. Okay, perfect. Now, wrist. So we've got tilts done, and then we've got all of these done. These. Now we're going to light align. We're just following the highway. Or what I like to call the highway anyway. Do I have enough to get it? I want to end up roughly right here for the majority of the other wires to come in. So I'll say I'm good. Let's say this wire is long enough. Okay, we want to end up at the light align. We want to be on the, remember, the non-banded side, so we want to be here. So I'll leave some room. That should be good. Okay. And instead of cutting a wire, I'm just going to separate it. There we go. Do that. And again, it's going to live right here. So let's pre-tin. Be careful when you pre-tin that you don't put any globs of solder on any of the components. Okay. What should we do? Should we go on top? Let's go underneath. Non-banded side. Give it a good tug. Ain't going anywhere. Okay, now we'll keep following the highway. Actually, I'll just leave it here. And I'm just going to put a piece of tape on it just so I know what the end is. And that's it, guys. So we can see what's, yeah, we can still see. So theoretically, right now, this one is complete. I've got the row. I've got the column. So I could take off the tape. That way I know it's done. All right. Same with all these. Same with all that. So I'm just going to leave this thing on just to double check to make sure I got it all set. And this is done. Okay. Row's done. Column's done. This line, she's a finito. Okay. Now, 1, 2, 3, 4 more to do, and there's not that, well, this line's only got 1, 2, 3, 4 connections. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's a big one. 1, 2, 3, 4. This one is, yeah, it's pretty significant too. I think there's 9 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Anyway, you get the gist of what we're gonna do. So again, start from here, loop, 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 and then we want to end the harness here, where we're going to again attach the main harness to it.
Okay, we're just tightening up the switch matrix now. Just a gazillion little twist tie thingies here. And the trick is to make sure you have enough wire at the actual switch. You don't want to tighten it too tight and then risk wire being too taut and then kind of breaking off. So just leave some slack and just go around and do your due diligence with this and make sure you form your highways. Okay, Russians, we've just finished doing the switch matrix. Now we're going to test it. So here's our pinball machine on a bench, and what we're going to be using is the switch assembly self-identification numbers. This is in the manual. And we're also going to be using the schematic of where each of the switches is. So I'm going to show you what we're going to do. First of all, let's turn the game on and put it into test mode. So hopefully there's no magic smoke. Well, so far so good. Bingo. Okay, good. Yeah, so we're in a track mode. So here's what we're going to do. Let's go into switch test. So we're going to press this. That'll give us our lights, which we haven't hooked up yet. It's our displays. The next one should be solenoids. That one will go off because that one is hardwired. It's not part of the computer matrix. Then we're going to go into sound. Again, I don't have a sound module hooked up, so it's not going to work. All right, here's our switch matrix. So right off the bat, we got switch number 1 stuck. So where's switch number 1? We're going to go here. Drop target D bottom. See, self-test 01. And we can go here. It's the first one on the bottom. If I look at the playfield. Okay, yeah, no kidding. Lo and behold, when we raise it, it's kind of hard to record. Oh, we got another one stuck. So, number 5. Number 5 is light align. So there is light align. And this one's easy enough because it says light align. So it's going to be this one. So pressing the switch isn't going to do anything. So I'm going to have to go from behind. Can't do it right now because my hands are kind of full trying to hold everything, but let me just show you. I'm behind the play field and I'm just going to lift up on the switch
Just see if that cures it, which it did. Perfect. So I don't have any other stuck ones. Okay, if I let it go, it's probably gonna go, yeah, it's stuck. All right, so I'm just gonna bend this. It'll be a bit obscene with the bend. I know it shouldn't do it, but because then I'm gonna show you how we're gonna test the rest. Okay, good. So I just bent that with my finger. So now it's just a question of just going over each one. So I roll over K, there's 24. Roll over I, 23. S, 22. 21. So let's see if we got it right. So we said K was 25. Is that right? No, 24. Okay. Yeah. So K roll over 24, 23, 22, 21. So those work. Now if I drop all the drops, it's going to be kind of hard, but there's one. So let's lift it up. 2 should be this one. Yep. So I think we got those right. 3. Oh, sorry, not seeing anything, guys. And on we go. So I'm just going to be pressing everything. So I'm pressing the top bumper, 38. Let's see if the 38 is the right one. 38. Yep, top thumper bumper. So I'm going to check every one, press every one. It looks like our switch matrix is wired up properly. So that's good news because that's probably the hardest thing to do. Okay, next we're going to tackle the flippers. I have a separate video on the flippers, so search around, you'll see how we hook those ones up. Then we're going to do the solenoids, and then finally the lights. Okay? I'm feeling really good at this point, Russians. It was a long way to go so far, so. Anyway, long way. We've come from a long way, now we still got a long way to go. Okay? Over and out.